Monday edition of College Sports Now. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Matt Norlander from CBS Sports and the Eye on College Basketball podcast is with us. We're talking hoops today. Did not book a guest. We will book a guest for later in the week, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
But, stuff happens. Norlander, how was the ski trip? How are the vibes? How's your body feeling? You're north of 40. You're not a spry youth like you used to be, man. Are we feeling this in the quads and the glutes? Are you activated?
A lot of activation. Trip was good. Went with the fam and a couple other families with my buddies. Did Stowe on Friday, Smuggler's Notch on Saturday. Those are mountains that are...
Even I have heard of these places, yes.
So did those two.
Some elite POW, huh? I mean, we're not just like...
You know what? There was some good... I don't know if it was elite POW, but there were some good freshies to be found.
Was it packed?
Not
the snow.
Neither one was packed.
Like, were there lots of people there? Like, was it crowded?
It was not super crowded. We don't have to reflect too much on the weekend, but it was, I take one weekend every year to go and take the weekend off and do a Vermont trip, get back to my roots. I grew up in VT.
Did you get some maple syrup?
I didn't. I don't.
God,
I already have Vermont maple syrup. I have it in my fridge every day of the year. We get that. No worries on that. But I had not been. I actually not skied at Stowe in 25 years and Smugs, and I went back and I was like, I think I last skied at Smugs in 1998. It was a good time. Quads were burning on Saturday after working it heavy on Friday. My 9-year-old is getting better every single time, so that was cool. I made him go to the top of the mountain at Stowe, but we were able to take a green down. So it wasn't the very top. It was a different lift. And he was reticent, but then he did it, and he was proud. He did it, which is good. My 6-year-old's still learning, so it was nothing but the magic carpet for him. Got absolutely wrecked by a 2.5-year-old barreling down the bunny slope. It took me and my little guy out, but it was as graceful and non-traumatic of a collision as you could ask for. But this little dude, I mean, it was boom. Yard sale. He hit me so hard that my ski, and this is the function of these, you want this to be the case, it popped right off. My little guy was more than okay. So that was nice to see. But it was a good trip. Good to just, unplug, reset, fully charged, ready for the push here over the next 2+ months of the season. But it was a lot of fun, and it was a good time. I got some real good runs in, and I tell you what, there was one part at the end of Saturday, though, last run of the day. There were some glades that I wanted to try. Glades, for people that might not be familiar, is when you're skiing in the woods. And before I got to that point, I took this trail called Catwalk, which was just a blue, and it was my last run of the day. Wife's waiting at the bottom; she's ready to get home, and I take it, and it's just filled with moguls. And normally it wouldn't be the case, but there are 4 snowboarders on this trail, and they are just like, dude, what are we going to do? I can't do this. Like, we got to walk down. So I take it, and then I get down, and they're just within shouting distance of me. And I'm like, it's better once you get down here. You'll be okay. And it was for about 300 yards. And then it got even worse. So I was like, oh, those people, man. But I couldn't stay. I couldn't get back to them. I was, at this point, I was many yards ahead of them. Then I went through the glades, did all this, got to the bottom, and I was like, hey, I talked to one of the patrol guys. I was like, you're going to sweep through every trail, right? They're like, yeah. It's like, there are 4 snowboarders that are marooned up near the top of the mountain, and they didn't know what to do. So I hope those folks got down with ease and didn't wind up walking down half the mountain, because they definitely took a turn on a trail they thought they could handle, and they were just sitting there like, what the hell, man? We can't do this. So it was we've all been there that have learned how to ski.
Have we all been there, though? Really?
If you learn how to ski and snowboard, at some point you probably put yourself either intentionally or unintentionally on a trail where, when it's bumpy and it's got those big moguls and you've never done it before, it is extremely intimidating, especially the first time you ever do it if you never really tried it. And so you find yourself in that spot, and you got to figure out a way to get down, man. You got to, one way or another, you got to figure out a way to do it. So it was
slide
good.
Down on your ass.
I know. Or if you're a snowboarder, you can pop off the board and you can walk so much easier. Like, right. Skis are more of a pain. You got to kind of learn how to do it. But no, it was good. I did get plenty of hoops watching in, though, and that's the point.
Did you? Did you?
I watched. I was able to watch plenty of games after we got. You ever go to like an Airbnb and the TV situation? Just you can't. man, it was first night in. It was we had to basically unplug the entire system, plug it back in.
Wow, it's frustrating.
We got it going.
Whoever booked this Airbnb should probably be held accountable in the future. They should probably
we wound up figuring it out. But yeah, the first night was like when got on the internet. I brought the iPad, was able to get that done.
No, of course, sure.
But anyway, the point is, I was able to catch a few games. Not everything. I do want your perception on, Friday to Sunday, the vibes, reactions to the weekend. Because as following a game here, game there, but I wasn't on social media. I was mostly.
You weren't locked in. You weren't even dialed. What's greater, dialed or locked?
I'm definitely not locked, not dialed. But I was like, I watched most or all. Like, how about this? We were at the ski chalet, had all of Xavier UConn on, had all of Houston, Kansas on, had all of Auburn, Tennessee on. I got back in time for the second half of Wake Duke, because I remember when we got in, the second half was starting. Duke was up big, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. I went to change, took a shower, came back, and Wake had the lead. I was like, all right, here we go. Now we're cooking. Duke winds up winning. So where do you want to start? What are your thoughts on the weekend, Hartzell?
I mean, in terms of best games of the weekend, I think the showdown on the Plains in the SEC was at the top. Tennessee-Auburn was great. It wasn't elite offensive basketball, okay, 53-51. That's the final. But Johni Broome coming back from his injury, flexing, filling out the stat sheet, doing what he does. That was the best game of the weekend. Now, if you want to come at me with Houston, Kansas,
of course,
I'm not going to push back. You're the statistical guru on this show. I'm more of an eyes guy. I'm more of a feel guy.
Yeah.
I saw a stat. Houston won in overtime, double overtime, 92-86 at the Phog. Not easy to do.
Insane.
I believe that was Kelvin Sampson's first ever win in Lawrence.
It was.
Notable. I saw a stat that there was like a 0.4% chance, probability that Houston was going to win that game when they were down 6 with Kansas shooting 2 free throws with like 24 seconds left. That's like the lowest probability in ranked games in, 15 years. I'm probably butchering the stat. But point is, Houston pulled it out of their you-know-what to get it done. Got to make free throws, guys. Got to make free throws. And it was a worst-case scenario if you're a Kansas fan. You miss both. Instead of being up 8, you're up 6. Houston, 3. Kansas timeout. Turnover. Houston, 3. We're going to OT. And the Coogs got it done. So impressive stuff from a Houston team that we talked about the last couple weeks. Was in desperate need of some quad 1 wins based on their resume up to this point. They got it done. And I know a couple Kansas fans, Norlander, they know their hoops. They don't think this is a great Kansas team. Like, it's a fine Kansas team, but I don't think any Kansas fan is under the illusion that this is like a Final Four national championship Kansas squad compared to those of the last, decade or two under Bill Self.
Well, that's a change, though, because Kansas, for 2 seasons in a row, was the preseason #1 team. And last season, it was the worst Kansas team ever under Bill Self. And now you blow a game like this. And as I was watching this Saturday, the place we were staying at had like a legit pool table. It was great. I hadn't played pool. And when's the last time you went and actually played a game of pool?
Play pool every Friday up here at Shorty's.
Wow.
Don't worry. I got my own pool. You know what? You know what? We're in my office today. You know what this is right here? I got my own pool stick. True story. This is my grandfather's pool cue.
Look at this.
I have it. Now, do I play pool every Friday? No, I do not. But I do have, this is a true story. This is a pool stick here. Screws in. Bang, bang.
How about that?
So anyway, I don't play pool very often, Norlander, but if you and I did play pool, you'd be broke.
Oh yeah, I'm not a great player. I was saying as we were watching this gameplay, I was like, man, I don't think I've played pool in more than a decade. Didn't do so well, but it's okay. The point is this: watching Houston, Kansas play out, and then they're up 6, and I'm like, all right, they got this. It's over. And then the game gets to overtime. And then we go through the situation again. I was like, okay, now they're pulling away. And then, I'm trying to sink, the 4 ball in the corner pocket or whatever. Next thing I know, the game is in double overtime, and I had missed the sequence. So thank goodness for YouTube TV. Tap that bad boy back, see how it plays out. With DeJuan Harris missing 2 freebies. Then they get the deep 3. And then the terrible pass, Uzan intercepts it. And then Malik Wilson hits the 3 to get it to a second overtime, and Houston takes it there. It is the first huge win for Houston's season. This was a top 3 team in the metrics for a number of weeks, but it didn't have a quad 1 win. It gets that in emphatic and extremely unlikely fashion. It's not just that Kansas lost and the way it lost. Kansas, I don't think I've ever seen Kansas lose a game, regardless of the opponent, where it had it at hand, not once, but multiple times and blew it. That does not happen to that team in that building. This is the first time I can ever recall them blowing a game like this in that building. And they were preseason number 1. There was a lot of hope that they would be able to fix what happened last season when they weren't a deep team. They weren't an effective team on offense, and they were okay. And for Kansas Sanders, they were well below the bar, despite being a preseason number 1 team. Then they come back into this season and are preseason number 1 again after getting pieces in the portal that led a lot of people to think that they would be the best team or the second best team in the country, because you got A.J. Storr, who was a really good player at Wisconsin last season, because you got Zeke Mayo, one of the best mid-major scorers in the country. He comes in. You get Rylan Griffin, who was a 3-point specialist for an Alabama team that made the Final Four. All these guys come in and join returning pieces, and it hasn't been that at all. They're now 14-5. They're sitting at 5-3 in the Big 12. Again, although their defense is rating better than it was a season ago, again, they're still not a high-end offensive team, and it's looking like, the tournament comes, you get the right matchups, things can break your way. We'll see. But Kansas has never made the Sweet. It's been preseason number 1. I think this is the 6th time. It's either the 5th or the 6th time Kansas has ever been preseason number 1. All previous times, it has never made the Sweet 16 of the tournament, and now they're flirting with that potential reality there. Again, it is a bit fascinating to see KU not be really, 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 really good, 2 years in a row, because this just hasn't been the case under Bill Self. So Jayhawk fans are probably going through a little bit of an identity crisis, because you're going through the kind of things that most other fans experience. Some fans experience this every single season and on an even worse level. And most other fans, they get this kind of season that you're getting, every 3 seasons, every 4, every 5. Kansas fans normally don't get it, and now they do. But to me, the result was actually more about Kansas than it was about Houston. Still believe in Houston plenty. This was a very big win for the resume perspective, and I know it meant a ton to Sampson to get that win in that building, but a freakish way to lose, and Houston just will drag you into the pits of hell in the way that they play. This game actually wound up getting to 90+ because it needed 50 minutes total to get played. But that was the game, the outcome, the biggest point of the weekend from me from afar, just picking up here and there when I took stock of everything that went down. That one carried the most significance.
Houston's now won 12 in a row. They visit Morgantown on Wednesday. We'll talk about some games this week to tune into. There is a massive game in the Big 12 tonight with Iowa State visiting Arizona. That's a 10:30 Eastern tip. We'll talk about that on the back half of the show. But Big 12, Norlander, which last year was without a doubt the best conference in the country, is still really, really fun at the top. Okay, you look at Houston, you got Iowa State. Arizona seems to have figured things out after kind of a late November swoon, or I guess or early November swoon in the non-conference. They were struggling. They're 13-6, but Zona's right there. Iowa State in Tucson tonight, it's a victim of realignment and conference expansion and the whole shebang, but that's a great basketball game.
Of course.
That's going to be awesome.
Really good matchup and really big for Arizona's viability at being a factor in the league. So, yeah, that's a big one.
Interesting game in the Big 12. I touched on Auburn, Tennessee. I've got a take that I'd like to workshop here live on CSN, if you will, if you'll allow.
Okay.
Johni Broome is a really good basketball player. Okay.
He's a great basketball player.
He's a great college basketball player.
Yes, that's what he is. He's a great college basketball player.
Great college basketball player. Mm-hmm. At some point, though, don't you need to be able to, I don't know, showcase that you can make jump shots or make baskets outside of an 8 or 10 foot radius? The guy can't make free throws. He's 60% from the free throw line. I'm not saying he's not a great rebounder. He's a tremendous rebounder. He's a tremendous passer. He made a clutch play on a missed shot late in this game to rebound the basketball, kick it out to the corner 3. Auburn makes it. They go up for good late in the game. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the guy doesn't make plays, but come on, man. Him versus like a Cooper Phlag at Duke, if those are your two front runners for National Player of the Year as we approach the end of January.
Yeah. That's the 1-2 right now for sure.
I mean, it's not close just in terms of like what you can do as a basketball player. One of those guys is far more skilled than the other. Johni Broome's a great player, and he came back from injury, and he was a significant factor, like everything else he's done for Auburn this year. Led him in points, led him in rebounds. Like, he was a tremendous force. Tennessee could have had that game. They could have won it, which is, I mean, going to Auburn and winning in that place is not easy. But I was very impressed with Tennessee, even in a losing effort, Norlander. But the Johni Broome stuff, like, come on, man, let's be serious.
Serious about what? He's number 2 in the National Player of the Year race. If he didn't play on Saturday, Auburn would not have won. 16-13 in the win coming back from the ankle injury, and definitely not yet at 100%. Auburn's not winning the game if he's not on the floor. I mean, he had the dish to Miles Kelly, who hit 3 from the corner that gave Auburn the lead there with, 30 seconds to go. He's been tremendous. I mean, he's 17.8 points per game, 10.8 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 2.8 blocks. As a 6'10 big, best player on the best team in the country. Phlag does have the lead. That is for sure. That flipped in the past week and a half or so. But yeah, if you want to knock him because he's not a reliable, guy from 16 feet out, fine. But the stats are clear in terms of what he's accomplishing, and if you actually watch how he functions within Auburn's offense and on both ends of the floor, like, this is a classic Hartzell like drive by. You can't be a casual, man. You can't tell me that Johni Broome isn't in or doesn't deserve to be in the National Player of the Year discussion. He is clearly the number 2 guy right now. There's not someone that's close at number 2. Like, there's guys that are on the outskirts that could potentially break in to be in that grouping. Like, if Marquette continues to win and Cam Jones continues to play at a really high level, like, he's going to have a strong case there. If Purdue really starts putting it together, check out what Braden Smith has been able to do. He's not nothing. Curtis Jones or Keyshawn Gilbert at Iowa State, those guys are also really good. You can keep going on down the line. Florida's just mauling people, and Walter Clayton Jr.'s numbers stand up really well as well, in addition to some other guys. But all those guys are far behind Broome. Like, it's Phlag. I think you can probably say right now, like, there's a little bit of separation between Phlag and Broome, but the separation between Phlag and Broome is much closer than the separation between Broome and whatever person you want to put third on the list. I think I'd probably go Cam Jones.
Well, part of this is a function of how the award is handed out, right? Like, it's generally given to the best player. I don't want to generalize, but like,
it's given to
best player, best team. Like,
no, not always. No,
not.
Now it has been that with well, it wasn't even best player, best team last season. Like, Zach Edey was the best player in the sport, but Purdue wasn't the best team. That was UConn. You're usually the best player on a team that's usually a 1 or 2 seed going into the tournament. That's normally what happens. So you got to be the best player on a top 10 team to win National Player of the Year. That's typically what happens. And so that's what we're pacing to right now as well. And those things usually, they usually align. Like, if you're going to be a 1 seed, a 2 seed, or at worst, probably, one of the better 3 seeds, and you're the best player on that team, like, chances are you're going to be averaging north of 17, 18 points a game, or what you're doing of statistical value will have very little match across the rest of the sport. So it does make sense. It's a little bit different than the NBA MVP in my personal opinion. But right now, yeah, Broome is definitely number 2 to Cooper Phlag. I mean, was this one of your biggest takeaways of the weekend? Like, you saw Tennessee really muck it up. They get down in the mud with Auburn. Tigers still are able to beat the Vols 53-51 in a really, really just slug it out affair. And your big takeaway is Johni Broome just okay.
Yeah, kind of. I also think that, like, Tennessee, Norlander, Tennessee's, they're wooing me. They're doing it again. Okay, I know it's late January, but, like, those guys have got pieces, man. They are tough. Like, they've got like 5 or 6 options that can just go berserk. Like Zakai Ziegler's been there forever, okay? But look, man, we talk about this every year in March. Like, give me the veteran point guard. Like, give me the battle-tested guards year in, year out. Unless you've obviously got, like, some freshman phenom who's going to go, like, top 3 in the NBA. But, like, man, we'll get to Vanderbilt. Tennessee has got some pieces, man. So we'll see. When it's all said and done, I understand Auburn got the win by 2. Some dicey officiating there late, but that's life in college basketball. Rick Barnes wasn't pleased. He tomahawked a water bottle which is pretty awesome.
I didn't. I missed that. I didn't see the.
Yeah, they had to stop the game because the dudes had to come over and mop up the
Oh,
floor.
I did not see that. It was as it was playing.
Yeah, because you were too busy trying to put the 8-ball away in the corner
it didn't work out
pocket.
for me. I wasn't
Other takeaways from the SEC before we get to UConn Xavier. Vanderbilt beat Kentucky. They rushed the floor. I did not see
a second of this game. Fill me in.
Okay. I mean, these guys are tough to put away. And granted, Memorial Gymnasium, always a difficult place, but there's buy-in there.
No, it's not. Don't fall on talking point platitudes. Not always a difficult place.
There's buy-in when that place is rocking, which it hasn't been under Jerry Stackhouse the last couple of years.
That has been outside the top 45 toughest places, outside the top 50 toughest places to play in college basketball for the majority of the past 2 decades. Come on now.
Okay, I'm not talking about nationally, Norlander. I'm talking about regionally. In that league, that is a difficult place to play when it's rocking. And it's rocking.
Is it rocking?
I mean, listen, they've beaten Tennessee and Kentucky in the last 8 days?
Yes. Big time wins to actually push them into the NCAA tournament conversation because they did so.
Expensive wins too. I mean, it's $250K for the first offense in the SEC for a court storming. The second is $500,000. Okay,
and
so we're at $750,000 in the last 7 days. Don't feel sorry for Vanderbilt. They're well endowed. Okay, that's the SEC. They got plenty of money. But yeah, I mean, you asked me last week if Vanderbilt's win over Tennessee, like, do I believe in Vanderbilt? Like, do I think that they have elevated their game somehow? And I was like, no. And now I'm like, yeah, I think we might too. And for a guy who likes to give out coaching grades every year, not necessarily every year, you like to go back and look at like, hey, what happened 3-4 years ago? Correct.
Actually, I'm the only person that does it right in all of sports media. I grade coaching hires 4 years after they happened. When when it comes to grading, you have to submit work. You have to have some stuff on the page. So like these coaching hiring grades that happen before coaches ever run a damn practice, let alone coaching a game, are so ridiculous, and just feed like the content maw and the fact that people got to have all their takes immediately. I let the cake bake and I go back. So this year I will grade all of the coaching hires from 2021. That will be happening in the second week of April, per usual.
Okay, very good. My point is, though, with the Mark Byington hire coming over from JMU, I mean, that's been a home run for them. Like, that's been a hit. And obviously it wasn't the splashiest coaching move in SEC basketball circles, but give Vanderbilt credit for what they have done. They put themselves in the conversation, as you mentioned, nationally. Also in the SEC, Florida just absolutely destroys Georgia, like at one point led by like 30 early in the second half. They continue to just run away from teams in the artist formerly known as the O-Dome. It's now called Exact Tech Arena. It'll always be the O-Dome to me, damn it.
Of course.
And also Missouri Ole Miss. Tigers get a win. Rebels have lost 3 straight since going to Tuscaloosa and beating Alabama. So that's my SEC roundup.
Okay.
I know you want to talk Big East basketball.
Well, hold on. We don't have to shift off the SEC so quickly. Mississippi losing 3 in a row is not a surprise, and I'll be interested to see when we get to the end of the SEC tournament, how many teams will have avoided a 3-game losing streak in this conference, because I think you're going to get more than half of them, at least half of them, that fall victim to this right now. And now Chris Beard's team gets Texas at home, Auburn at home, Kentucky at home. Can it peel off 2 of the next 3 to kind of steady itself a little bit there? Missouri has had a huge bounce back, 16-4 this season, and sitting at 5-2 in the league after having an 8-win season last season and not winning a single game against SEC opponents. They went 0-19, including a one and done in the SEC tournament. So Dennis Gates was able to work the portal in a way that really benefited his program. And the Tigers are getting some good respect for this. Maybe not quite as much as they deserve. They have the win over Kansas, which is still really good, but is reduced given where we see Kansas now. We'll see if that changes. They won at Florida, which is the one that really made people look up and go, okay, we really might have something here with the Tigers.
Yeah.
And now after losing a game last Tuesday at Texas, a game Texas had to win. Oh, by the way, yeah, you didn't mention that either. I'll get to that in a second. They lose against Texas, and then they beat Ole Miss, and they beat them by getting 83 points on that defense. I thought that was pretty big. Texas, 14-6 now, after beating Mizzou, and then getting a win at home by 1 over Texas A&M, and did not have Arthur Kaluma, who Trey Johnson's the guy in the Texas roster who's going to be a first-round pick. He's going to be a lottery pick. But Kaluma is the most valuable player. They didn't have him in this game, and yet they're still able to get the win. Not so quietly critical 2-game stretch there for the Longhorns. They've actually won 3 of the past 4, including a road win against Oklahoma. If we had gone back 2 weeks ago, Texas was an 11-5 team that had not yet won in the SEC and was really staring down a very difficult road ahead if it couldn't change things around. It has been able to. Now, having said that, 3 of the next 4 games for Texas are on the road. At Ole Miss, at LSU, home to Arkansas, at Vandy, and then actually after that, they're home to Bama. They're going to take on more losses there. I would project that Texas's resume is going to be super fascinating once we get into March. They'll probably have enough to get into the tournament because they're going to have enough of these like good quad 1 wins, but I think they're going to still compile a lot of losses, and they're going to be a really interesting resume overall. I think it was very, very important that they got those wins in the SEC over the past week.
My only takeaway from Texas and Texas A&M is that somebody screenshotted a picture of Buzz Williams, and he's always got the 3-piece, right? He's got the suit and he's got the vest.
Yeah.
Somebody screenshotted a picture of Buzz Williams, and it said, if you go to a wedding and the groomsmen are dressed like this, it's a cash bar. And it's just like, I mean, the internet is full of some very creative people.
Oh, man.
But very rarely do I see something and I'm just like, yeah, that's a legit laugh out loud.
Bingo, yeah.
Because you nailed it. If you know, like that's what I wore to prom in 2000 was what Buzz Williams was rocking Saturday when he caught that L at Texas. And we all know what those cash bar weddings are. We've all been there.
I've only been to, I think maybe 2, definitely 1. I can remember 1. And
listen, if you're balling on a budget, it's a cash bar.
It's completely understandable. But I remember, going to one, and we were kind of like, and I'm not a big drinker anyway. What do I care? So, but a lot of my buddies were like, cash bar, really? It's tough. It's a tough one. I feel like
the pro move with the cash bar, and this is also for folks who are going on like all-inclusive vacations where like you don't pay for drinks, like it's just included. You just write it off. Just go in there early. Just drop something in the bucket. You know, it doesn't have to be a $20 bill. I'm not saying you need to go up there and just bust out the wad. Just first drink of the day, and this really works at all-inclusive resorts. First drink of the week.
Yeah,
you just heavy tip. And then it balances out the rest of the way.
It should.
The little extra pour, the little heavy hand, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, the Buzz Williams look from Saturday, just me, junior prom, circa 1999. I mean, lock it in. I mean, same look, same fit, same drip. Norlander, you know what that's all about. So anyway, there's your SEC roundup. By the way, massive game Tuesday, Kentucky, Tennessee in the SEC. Massive game. Cats need it. They're not going to get it because it's at Tennessee. But still, massive game nonetheless. Is that right? Is it at Tennessee? I had this on my notes here just a minute ago. Stand by. Yes, it is at Thompson Bowling. Okay. UConn lost again. How we feeling about the Huskies? I don't want to it's a lazy narrative to say that like they're bored, they're waiting for the postseason, but there is a part of me that feels like there might be a little bit of credence to that. What do we think?
Well, I watched this game. Credit to Xavier for really having the resolve to hold on, get this win, 76-72, to improve to 13-8. Xavier just feels like it is destined to be first 4 out, last 4 in, one or the other there.
I mean, they won at Marquette last week.
I know, they did. Now there's still a lot of work to do, but these are the wins that are mandatory. You're at home. So I know like UConn's the bigger story. I get that, but I at least want to credit Sean Miller and his program. The fact that they had Zach Fremantle back, he was a factor in this game. Dante Maddox was a big factor in the game as well. And then on the UConn end, they didn't shoot well from deep. They've been going through a stretch here where they have been playing well, but in some of the losses or some of the close wins, their opponents have just been able to. It wasn't really necessarily the case too. I mean, Xavier went 7 of 17 from 3-point range, so it was okay. It was solid. That's a solid rate, but they also didn't launch a ton. And UConn again is not able to overcome some of the shooting bad luck that it's had. So Solo Ball, who is not afraid to shoot the three, and I actually like his gumption. He took 11 in this game, only made 3 of them, wound up with 20 points, a team high 20. Aiden Mahaney had some really nice moments again. And you just wonder if, like, he's had these spots here where he's come up and he's had some little here, little there, little here, little there. I wonder if it's eventually cresting to something in February, March for UConn, where Mahaney's going to really wind up being a guy that is responsible for a crucial win or 2 or 3 overall. But yeah, UConn's 14-6. It's sitting at 6-3 in the Big East. It's officially been knocked down a peg in the hierarchy of the conference, let alone nationally, which has already been the case. But over the past 5 games, it's 2-3. The wins were at Georgetown, where they only won by 8, but that was a 20-point win. And then they were able to narrowly escape at home in overtime against Butler, 80-78. Other than that, you had a close 2-point loss against Villanova. You had a 5-point loss at home against Creighton, and then you had this loss on the road by 4 against Xavier. So the defense is still not. I mean, it's just not what it has been, and there are just certain physical limitations on this team overall. Upcoming schedule is home to DePaul on Wednesday, at Marquette after that, which is a big one, then home to St. John's on Friday, February 7th. That one's going to be a big one in Gamble. Then they're at Creighton at Seton Hall. So more losses likely on the way, but they remain an entertaining show. So whether UConn winds up being as good as a 3 seed or it finds itself, you look at the resume and you say, okay, the wins right now are Baylor, Texas, Gonzaga, Xavier. Okay, that's fine. It's not great. So, like, is UConn really going to slip its way to like an 8-9 game situation? No. They're still compelling no matter what it is. They're going to be compelling, and because they've been as good as they've been, the general sports fan will go into watching a UConn game if it's a game of note, a top 3 game of a night or whenever it is, thinking that UConn's going to have the capacity to win a game because that team and that program believes it. And I think that factor also looms heavy on no matter who the opponent is. So it's a fascinating story that continues to play out. And we'll see really where this program is in a week from now, less than a week from now, because that game at Marquette on Saturday is a huge one. Wouldn't surprise me if UConn won, but that'll be a real gut check.
When life gets you down, when you're in a bad place and you need to bust out of a slump, who better to get right against than when the Blue Demons of DePaul come to town, right?
They're improved this year, sir.
Okay, very well.
That being said, 1-9 in the league.
Yes, the bar is very low outside of Chicago. I will say this. It's worth noting. We're talking UConn. Chiefs are going for a 3-peat in 13 days.
That's right.
I mean, as we approach February.
Man, I thought the Bills were going to get it.
Yeah, I mean, you and, the fine folks of upstate New York. It's tough,
quick,
man.
Real quick aside, don't care about the 4th down, couldn't see the ball. The Bills wound up scoring a touchdown after that. You want to talk about like contrived sports talk, radio, television debates. That, yes, it would have benefited the Bills if they got the 1st down and would have allowed them to continue to move to maybe even get a field goal. And that potentially can affect the game outward, but they didn't get it. They still got a touchdown after. That wasn't deciding the game. I just knew when that was happening that would dominate all conversation here that night and into Monday. Get it out of my face. Not why the Bills lost.
Okay. Norlander's more excited about the Grammys than he is the Super Bowl coming up in 2 weeks. That's okay.
No, but I'm always going to dial in for the Grammys.
Oh, we have fun with the Grammys here
right.
on CSN. I've got some shenanigans lined up for that. Nonetheless, my point though with the Chiefs going for a 3-peat, Huskies as we wrap up January, like how we feeling about that? Obviously, if you said, "Hey, UConn versus the field in the NCAA tournament," you're taking the field, right? Like this is not this UConn team as it is currently constructed has no business being in that discussion. Yes.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, just checking in.
That was going into the season. It was Chiefs are going for a 3-peat. UConn's going for a 3-peat. What do you think is more likely? And even then, I said it was the Chiefs. But no, now for UConn, even though Dan Hurley's goal will be to win the national championship as it should, and he'll have belief that they can do that, and I understand that. I think for non-UConn affiliated parties, it's more like, all right, can UConn steady itself and be a top 5 seed? Can it go on a winning streak here, and can it actually get into the second weekend of the tournament and still remain like a pretty prominent factor overall once we get into the back half of March?
By the way, UConn free throw disparity again at Xavier. I mean,
What was it? Oh, yeah, what was it?
It's -7.
Yeah,
it's not it's not a massive difference, but
no, it's not.
Look, ask Kansas. Free throws matter, and when you're losing, 2, 3, 4-point games, and you're getting your opponents going to the free throw line more than you are, game in and game out in the Big East. Look, I'm just saying, man. Like the Hurley antics, like they catch up to you at some point. Like it is what it's just something to keep an eye on. That's all. Other takeaways from the weekend for me. I want to give a shout out to St. Mary's, the Gales. You were talking about Aiden Mahaney a minute ago, his old team.
Mm-hmm.
St. Mary's is 18-3. They go to Pullman. You don't just stroll into Pullman. You don't just walk into Beasley Coliseum, Norlander.
I feel like sometimes you do.
18-3 for the Gales. They may be the cream of the crop in the WCC. We know about Gonzaga's recent struggles.
There's something to it.
Indiana lost again. We talked about this going into the weekend. Like, hey, you got Maryland. You should probably beat them. Well, they didn't. They lost by 1. And now the Hoosiers have dropped 4 of 5. I'm just wondering, like, how we feeling in Bloomington, man? How we feeling?
It's a disaster there. Yeah, this game was going on as I was making the drive home, so I didn't see it. But I know Maryland was down by 2 possessions with under 45 seconds to go. Jacoby Gillespie hit a big shot, and then Rodney Rice winds up hitting the 3-pointer that wins it for Maryland. And Maryland, it didn't have a road win as of a week ago, and it was able to beat Indiana and Illinois in back-to-back games. And really, you talk about a team. I mean, they were in the tournament conversation already, but I don't know if there are many more bigger stock risers in the sport over the past week than the Terps. So good on them. Indiana is just going the way that, I said it on this show. I said it on College Basketball. I've written it on CBSSports.com. This was all easy to see the way that it's going. Indiana still has a lot. The next 3 weeks are just hell. They're going to lose more. It's going to continue to be bad. And if it gets real bad, and by real bad, I mean Indiana loses 6 in a row, then we start to wonder, will they fire Mike Woodson in the middle of the season? Will they actually do that? I won't say no, because I can see it happening. He is an alum. He's got some very powerful friends connected to that athletic department, so maybe that doesn't happen. But this fan base will let you know, and has let Woodson and the powers that be that attend these games in person, that they've let it know, and it's going to continue to be a thing. And by not showing up to games, that makes a big statement as well. So you needed to get this one on your home floor. Didn't have it. Didn't get it done, and that's a biggie. What else from around the weekend? We didn't really talk Duke Wake that much. I know I mentioned I saw some of it, but
that went exactly the way I thought it was going to, which is
Duke up big, Wake comes back, takes the lead, and then Duke winds up pulling away.
If you're Wake Forest, and I can pull up the box score, but Salas and Hildreth, those guys need to combine for 40, 50 points. I mean, I'm not saying they both need to go off, but they got to do their part. They didn't do their part. The place was rocking. Wake went on a run, and
did you go?
No, I did not. I held back. We had 2 birthday parties on Saturday. It was a full day.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. How did that wind up working out for you? Did you dip early like I told you needed to?
Norlander giving life advice. It was a party. The party was scheduled from 3 to 7. We showed up at 4. Okay.
Told you to get there at 3 and leave by 5.
And we left at 6, and my kids were. It was a free-for-all, man. I got to be honest. The last hour and a half of the party was a neon glow-in-the-dark, dance party in this. I mean, it was a free-for-all, man. It was out, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, if we don't go, we're going to have to help clean all this up.
Yeah.
We need to go right now. I'm going to go wait in the car. I'm going to let y'all. Anyway, cake was dry. Anyway,
yeah.
The Wake-Duke game, Wake went on their run. Duke ends up sitting back in a zone defense, and Wake can't score. You can't score. I mean, it's a make-or-miss sport, folks. 63-56. Deeks had a chance. They didn't get it done. Duke's a very good basketball team. They're very well coached. They've got better players.
Number 1 at KenPom, by the way.
Rightfully so.
And number 2 in the polls.
And now the story here, obviously you've got the Duke winning streak. You teased it last week, like running through the ACC regular season unbeaten. I think that's very much in play for this Duke team. Wake has to go on the road and play at Louisville. That's a decent ACC bunch, probably the second best team in that league, ranked in the top 25. That's not going to be easy for Wake, who historically has struggled on the road under Forbes. Duke gets NC State tonight. They're favored by like 22 points. Wolfpack are in a dark place. Yeah. A dark place.
Well, it's not that dark. They made the Final Four less than a year ago, so
okay.
I know it's gone off the cliff in a hurry. This isn't surprising anyone. You'd trade it for the Final Four run. What do you want from me?
You'd trade a 9-10 season to go to the Final Four the previous year?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I think you would trade if you told State fans a year ago today. Actually, it was pretty. I'll bring it up right now because I remember them talking to the staff.
A year ago today, they were probably 9-10 overall.
They lost. Yeah, so boom. It is exactly. It is 2 days. A year ago today. So they lose at NC State on January 27, 2024. It's a 12-point loss on the road. They had lost 3 in a row at that point. They were 13-7. So from a record perspective, they were better than they are now.
Okay.
But in that game, before that game, DJ Burns gets benched. They're just the performance on the floor, and in addition to, I just think some some stuff with practice. He just wasn't playing up to what he should be doing, and so Keats was just like, "Hey, I'm going to sit you." Burns didn't complain, didn't anything. He started to change a lot of what his daily regimen was doing on the back half of his college career, and from there on out, NC State still lost plenty more games. I mean, they lost 4 in a row to close the regular season. But if I had told NC State fans a year ago today, you will make the Final Four in 2024. But in exchange for that, you're going to have like a 13-win team at least in the next season, and it could be just as bad the season after that. Would you take it? Of course they're taking it. Of course they would trade that. As opposed to what? Not going to the Final Four and being like a bubble team this year if you wanted to manipulate the future to your wants. Like, of course they're taking it.
Okay. I mean, that Final Four comes with a couple of like, oh, by the way, you're also going to beat Duke in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a Final Four.
All
right, that's fair.
There's a lot there. You gotta
by the way, Wolfpack wins since December. Florida State, Coppin State, I Know You Rider, and Notre Dame. That's the class.
Yeah,
okay, we're coming up on 2 months. That's right.
And they gotta host Duke. They gotta go to Duke tonight.
Yeah, Duke tonight. Now, if you're playing Duke, it's a good spot. Okay, they just came off the trip to the Joel, short turnaround. North Carolina on deck, sports greatest rivalry, allegedly, on Saturday, Duke and North Carolina. But that is not the main event tonight. The main event, you got to stay up late for Iowa State, Arizona. That's the game. That's must-see TV. Will you stay up for that, Norlander?
What are you talking about? Of course. It's going to be
I'm just checking. 10:30 Eastern
situation. We'll get to the week preview in a second here, but Iowa State Arizona is by far the best game to watch on.
Green Bay also lost. That's now 17 in a row for the Phoenix. They're 2-2.
The more they lose, the more it becomes a story. And although I will not be the one authoring it.
What's the story, Morning Glory?
The buzz is that's right. The buzz is that CBSSports.com might be doing a little bit of a longer look at what the Phoenix have.
Nice tease. Very good.
But it will not be me writing the story.
CBS on Fox Crime. You love to see it.
Okay,
fantastic.
It's just dude. He takes over the job. They're 2-20. It's the more they lose, the bigger it is. This dude tweets out stuff about Patrick Mahomes, and then I really, for the most part, I'm not one to go peek at the mentions, but like he did it, and by the time I saw the post, I saw there were like 37 responses. I'm like, all these people are going to be telling them to go look at film, and that's exactly what it is. We rated the weekend, by the way. I want a little look back. We gave it. I want to say I said B- and you said C+. Did we rate it properly? How would you now that the games were played? What was your grade for the weekend in college basketball?
B- weekend. It's not just, listen, you need
and I don't
quantity.
feel as bad for having missed some of it, getting my time in on the
Well, listen, I mean, there's no excuses for you the rest of the way. If I'm a CBS boss, if I'm a suit.
All right, take it easy. I'm locked in every single day. I literally will not have a day off the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's my point. No excuses. Play like a champion. You had your fun in Vermont.
Right. That's right.
Hanging out at Smug's Run.
Man,
now it's time to lock in.
Okay?
Love it. Hanging out with Smuggy Bear. You had that. Now it's time to lock in. So here's the deal. You need quantity and quality for it to be an A+ basketball weekend. I don't just hand out A's, okay? No grade inflation here.
Mm-hmm.
You had Houston, Kansas. It was great. It was fun. Tennessee, Auburn. It was great. It was 53-51. It wasn't exactly an offensive exhibition.
I know, close. The Kai Ziegler had the shot to win it at the end. It was the game was hanging in the balance as the ball was flying through the air at the end.
It was a good game. I'm still comfortable with the C+ rating. I think it was properly rated. That's my thought. What about you?
Okay, I think that's probably right. A couple more results from across the weekend here before we look ahead and do all this stuff.
We didn't have that many close games. Like we didn't have a.
I know. I just want to quick comments here. A little bit here, a little bit there. This dates back all the way to Thursday night when I couldn't get the damn television to work at the Airbnb. Maryland going and routing Illinois 91-7. Significant. Now Illinois made good. It was able to beat Northwestern on Sunday, so it was able to salvage a little bit. And then Friday night, you had Purdue versus Michigan, and there was one other one. Oh, Marquette Nova, but that was not much of a game whatsoever. Purdue just eviscerating the Wolverines, 91-64. It was over early. It was over early.
Like your friends on the slopes in Vermont, like those 4 snowboarders who were stranded. Michigan just got vaped, just absolutely vaporized.
They did. By the way, speaking of vape, one of my buddies that went on the trip with us, he's got 3 daughters. The oldest one is 6th grade, I believe. So she's good enough to go and ride the little lifts and whatever. Tells us that she rode on one with a high school or a college person, and they break out the vape on the lift. I mean, come on, folks. Can we at least get it together? You gotta.
Is this a closed door ski lift?
No,
open air.
Open air.
What's the problem?
You got a middle school next year. You can't be doing this. What are we doing? Come on, let's have some awareness.
Okay.
I was annoyed after the fact. What?
Okay,
can't be doing
fine.
Can't
Why is she riding the lift with strangers? That would be my question.
She's old enough to do it. I mean, it's and it was on a relatively easy part of the mountain, so she's not like going to the summit or anything. But I'd heard it, and I was like, we can't have that. If it had been my kid, I would have been really annoyed. But there we have it. Anyway, Purdue wins 91-64. Saturday, what else did we miss that we didn't get to here of note? Arkansas lost again. Man.
Not just today. I've got some deets
Oklahoma
on the Arkansas.
That's a good win for Oklahoma in terms of Oklahoma needed to continue to build up his resume, so that was important. Go ahead.
I've got a deep dive on the Arkansas loss.
Right now, or you want to save it for another show?
I wasn't going to bring this up because I don't want to just continue to just carry water for the SEC. It's like, oh, there's Hartzell again. He's talking about the nation's best college basketball conference. Arkansas was up a half dozen at the 10-minute mark. Okay, they lost to Oklahoma on Saturday. Mm-hmm. They're up 6 at the 10-minute mark. The rest of the way, put back dunk and a field goal that John Calipari drew up coming out of a timeout. Those were the only 2 field goals in the final 10 minutes for Arkansas. They lost by 3. Look up the box score, all free throws. 2 field goals in the final 10 minutes of regulation. Folks, we got a problem, okay?
Problem doesn't begin to describe what's going on there.
They're 1-6 in the league.
Yeah, I'm not going to the tournament, man. It's a complete bust of a season, and he won't retire, so he'll come back, and it better work because if it's this again next season, it's 2 and through, and a crash out to end Cal's career.
That's tough.
We'll see if he can fix it. What else did we have? We had a couple weird ones. Like Kansas State finally looked like the team that people thought it would be, and just had zero issue with West Virginia. Treated it like a mosquito around the ear. Get out of here.
You get mosquitoes up there?
In Connecticut? Yeah, man. What are you talking about? They exist almost everywhere on the planet.
All right.
It's enough. Minnesota handling Oregon. That was also a notable home win for a bad team. So Minnesota and Kansas State haven't been good. And they're barely inside the top 100 at KenPom, but they both got wins. So that was notable. And then on the other end, like, it's discussion for another time, but Syracuse loses at home to Pitt. Pitt's better, but like that program is sliding.
Dude, I'm telling you.
It's already irrelevant, but it is sliding deeper into irrelevance. And Adrian Autry he's only in his 2nd season. They did win 20 games last season. Like, it's nondescript after the fact because they didn't make the tournament. They were just kind of whatever in a down ACC. They didn't go to the NIT. But they're 3-6 in the league. They're 9-11 overall. and there's just no hope, and more losses are coming. It's just not a good situation at Syracuse.
Doesn't take a genius to look at the television and see the proud, artist formerly known as the Carrier Dome. Just all those seats just empty. You never used to see that. Syracuse games would be on TV. That place was always filled.
I know.
Always.
Last one for me. BYU goes 80-52 over Cincinnati. BYU is at home. Cincinnati is easily now on my top 5 list of most disappointing teams in the country.
Wow.
12-7, 2-6 in the league, has lost 6 of its past 8. A team that was projected to be top 30 in the sport heading into the season. Wes Miller, who, remember, it was thought it was either going to be Wes Miller or Hubert Davis to get the UNC job, when Hubert Davis really had it the whole way. People just didn't realize it in real time. Some didn't. This is now year 4 for Wes Miller at Cincinnati, and year 1 he had 18 wins. Year 2 he had 23. They were better. Year 3 last season they were even better, just not good enough to get the NCAA tournament. Won 22 games. This was going to be the year not only that they got in, but like Cincinnati was going to be a single-digit seed, probably wearing home whites in the first round, and instead the bottom has fallen out. 12-7 right now, and have been non-competitive in a number of these losses. So UC fans are going through it, and now you're at this point where your season's on the brink, and like you play at Utah on Tuesday. Utah's not good, but it's a road game, so you're terrified about losing to a not good team. Home against West Virginia. We'll see. Like, West Virginia's going to be pretty pissed off coming off of some of its letdowns, and you're at UCF. It's not good. So I just wanted to at least bring that up because you
want me to pile on Wes Miller? Because I won't. Him and I were in Harrisonburg at the same time. Okay, so you expect me to take down a fellow Duke? It's not going to happen.
It was a score that popped out to me when I was looking through on what happened. That was
conference play is eating some of these teams alive. Like Cincinnati had a good non-con. They beat Xavier. Folks were believing. They thought that, hey, it's about damn time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into the league and man, like we were talking about Arkansas, like just getting humbled. Like it's and some of these leagues, like this is a product, and I know we're just in year 1 of this with like, an 18-team Big Ten and stuff like that. But some of these conferences, man, if you don't have it, it's an absolute meat grinder with the travel and just some of the quality of teams. I don't know if you saw the screenshots of the Alabama schedule, the final 3 weeks of the regular season.
I didn't, but it's going to be like this with every school, so that might be just Alabama's turn.
Yeah, Alabama. This was making the rounds on the socials Sunday night for whatever reason.
By that you mean Blue Sky, right?
Yeah, Blue Sky, X, like whatever your preferred spot is.
Let's see, Hartzell has more than one post. He's got 2 posts right now.
Yeah, one of them is your retweet.
Yeah, you got
a retweet of your. Sorry, what is it called when you post on Blue Sky? Is it
you post?
You just post. Okay, very good.
Call it a ski, but you post.
The final 3 weeks of Alabama's regular season, they got to play Auburn twice, which is the number 1 team in the land. They get top 10 Florida, top 10 Tennessee, top 10 Kentucky, top 25 Missouri, and top 15 Mississippi State in a row. That's 7 ranked teams to close the regular season before you go to Nashville for the SEC tournament. So look, don't feel sorry for Alabama. This is what it is. Alabama's coming off of a Final Four. Nate Oates, by the way, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this before we go into the weekday games of note.
Mm-hmm.
If you have unlimited funds at a school, is Nate Oates at the top of your wish list for college basketball coaches to take over your program today?
He would be near the top, in part because some of the way that he mishandled the Brandon Miller situation has eroded away some. I believe Alabama will do everything in its power to keep him there, and he may well stay there. But yes, he is near the top of the list of potential candidates. Be it.
Obviously, like Brad Stevens, Billy Donovan, some of these like pipe dreams. But in terms of active college coaches, Nate Oates is the guy.
He's near the top, but he just was it last. He just got a new deal last season, and the buyout's pretty substantial. I don't know when it drops, but it's big. But I don't know if this money doesn't matter as much anymore with buyouts, especially if you're a Big Ten institution. Like just hypothetically, like let's say Indiana wants to go get Nate Oates. Used to coach high school ball and was a teacher in high school in the state of Michigan. So has some Midwest ties. if you're Indiana and you got all this Big Ten TV money coming in, and you can you have another 2 or 3 really pissed off boosters that want to help write the check for Mike Woodson the way they did for Archie Miller. Can you get Nate Oates? I don't know. We'll see.
House settlement, Norlander. House settlement.
I know.
We got to conserve our funds. We got to pay the kids directly.
There's also that.
Allegedly. So that's my weekend recap. I don't have anything else.
Okay, that's good by me. Let's go. Let's take a tour through the next 3 nights here. Monday, Iowa State, Arizona. That's your big one. UCLA at USC. Not a ton there, but UCLA on the road. Never know what Cronin might do. It's a 10 Eastern tip, so you get that going before you really dive into Cyclones versus.
Is that on Peacock? Is that on cable?
FS1.
Okay.
FS1.
All right. Good.
No Peacock games here on Monday. I don't think Peacock does Monday night hoops. What else? There's not a ton. I'm looking at this slate right now. NC State Duke 8:30.
Put the wife and kids to bed.
For flag.
Throw in a little popcorn, or if you're Norlander, probably like canola oil, coconut oil popcorn, however you do it at the Norlander household. I'm sure you're air pop guy.
I know what you're talking about.
You're not Kirkland microwave popcorn guy like I am. Let's put it that way.
I had
you're
microwave
making popcorn. You're doing it, organic.
I had
oils.
microwave popcorn like 2 weeks ago, and it was the first time I had microwave popcorn. 15 years, been a while. I was like,
good?
Yeah, I was like, it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes
my wife's like, they might have, this stuff might have some of the stuff that lands on those lists that like where you're, more susceptible to cancer, whatever's in here. I'm like, okay, we can go back to the skinny pop or whatever.
Go back to the air pop. Okay, very good. So yeah, Monday night. Look, put the wife and kids to bed. Find your snack of choice. Get your carrot sticks ready. Get your hummus. Whatever you need.
This isn't remotely true. I mean, just painting with the broadest of brushes. What about Tuesday, Hartzell?
I mean, Kentucky, Tennessee is the main event. That will be on the primary screen. Obviously, Wake Louisville will have my attention because I'm a closet Deke. I got blamed for the Duke loss because I have a Wake Forest beanie that I wore to the office on Friday. I got blamed because they were like, way to wear your Wake hat, KOD, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, man, I don't affect the outcomes. I've been living in Winston-Salem for 13 years. I like Wake Forest. I'm a proud Wake athletics supporter. But St. John's, Georgetown, 6:30 tip. Love the 6:30 weeknight tips. I will stump for these. These are fantastic.
You and me both, man.
You get staggered finishes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like it's so money. Is that the John Fanta special? FS1 Tuesday in DC.
I don't know if he's calling the call for
be.
it, but he might be. I don't know if he is or not, to be honest. But yeah, Johnny's at Georgetown. On the road, it's enough to get you intrigued a little bit there. There are some better games than that. UNC is at Pitt, 9 Eastern, ESPN on Tuesday. Urgent game for both teams because there's a healthy chance that at least one of them doesn't make the NCAA tournament, so that's a big one there. Oklahoma at A&M. Sooners see if they can go on the road and beat A&M, which I think only has one home loss this season when they got beat by Bama. And that's mostly it. Oregon State goes to Gonzaga late night, ESPN 2 on Tuesday.
Don't lose.
Gonzaga just lost to them a week and a half ago. Dayton plays at St. Bonaventure. 3 weeks ago, I was going to this game. In fact, we might have even needed to do this pod like late last night because I would have been on my way driving the 6+ hours here.
What happened? No love for the Bonnies? Well, I mean,
you're
going to hang out with Woj? You can dap it up with Woj?
When it was January 10th and the Bonnies were 14-2, and I saw Dayton at that point, which was also potentially an NCAA tournament team. I thought, you know what? I've never been out there. This is the one opportunity, maybe. And now that Bonnies aren't an at-large candidate, it's not the same anymore. They've lost 5 of 6. They've completely.
Woj will straighten them out.
They've skied off piste from where they were supposed to be going.
Don't know what that was. Was that English? I don't.
Yeah. Yes. On piste, on trail. Come on now, get it together.
Is that French? On piste.
Piste. Yeah.
I've never heard that before in my life.
Yeah, it is French. But it's an American term too. But okay.
Yeah, I mean,
regardless, the Bonnies got off piste.
Yeah, you need to buckle down, buddy. You're not on vacation anymore.
Dangling from one limb, ski hanging in the air. That's what they're doing right now.
All right.
That's a Tuesday night matchup, but it doesn't have nearly the importance that it looked to have 2.5 weeks ago, which is unfortunate. That's your Tuesday night. What do we got Wednesday?
Houston, West Virginia. Validate what you did at the Phog by going to wild, wonderful West Virginia. Get it done in Morgantown. Tough place to play. They got a mascot walking around. He's wearing all head-to-toe leather, and he's got a musket.
Yeah, baby.
Like, and he's got the raccoon hat. Like, come on. The place is hostile. Just saying. Houston, West Virginia. Houston's a top 5 team this week, right? When the AP poll comes out?
Yeah.
Gotta be. Big game for them. Wisconsin, Maryland. I know you're a huge Big Ten Network guy. Alabama,
good game for Big
State.
Ten Network. That's a good get for them. That's a really nice game.
Oh, by the way, Houston,
Wisconsin,
West Virginia.
6-4.
You know what channel that's on? Ha! Psych. It's not on cable. It's on Plus.
Man, this Big 12 deal. Thank God some of these games are now on CBS Sports Network and CBS. But like the Big 12 can't get out of it. I don't know why this is the case. I would say this if I wasn't even in media. Like for whatever reason, when games are on ESPN Plus, that's just different to me than any other streaming situation. Like Peacock or there's really not that many because if anything's on CBS Sports Network, it's always on Paramount Plus. But the Plus, man, it just feels like you're buried 3 layers down.
Say it. Feels like you're in the Sun Belt. It's okay. You can say it. Feels like you're in the MAC.
Yeah, that's why.
Tough.
Sometimes there have literally been instances where the Big 12 has put top 25 matchups on ESPN Plus.
That's the case on Wednesday. I mean, West Virginia's not going to be top 25, but Houston is, one of your biggest brands in the league for hoops. Brett Yormark, son, between this and your Big 12 basketball tournament bracket, which is all black, you got to figure it out, man. Get control of what's going on with your hoops department. Alabama, Mississippi State at 9.
Good game.
I know Mississippi State is the least sexy good team in the SEC.
It is.
But man, those guys, Chris Jans, the dentist, like. I mean, what a great.
I think they're going to win. I'll say they win.
You like Mississippi State?
I'll say they win that game. Yeah.
Tremendous nickname for a head coach. The dentist? Come on, man. Without knowing anything about the sport, if your nickname is the dentist, that I know exactly what I'm in store for. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be pleasant. And then Texas Ole Miss also at 9:00 on Wednesday.
There's more than that, man. Wednesday's loaded. You got Xavier at Creighton, 8 Eastern, FS1. That's a big East matchup. Big time opportunity for Xavier on the road there. Auburn plays at LSU.
They're fine.
Maybe the Tigers get it done. The Tigers in purple and gold. Keep an eye.
Those Tigers, right?
Maybe they get it done. Those are also games to watch for. So yeah, that's Wednesday's pretty good. Tuesday's good. I think Wednesday's better.
I mean, I'm locked in. I'm not. I mean, I'm ready. Like it's like there's one. Guess how many basketball or football games are left this year, Norlander? One.
There's only one.
There's only one. All right.
Yep.
So all of those folks out there that are looking for some weeknight activities, here you go. It's time for Iowa State, Arizona tonight. Like, welcome to the party. It's gonna be a good time. So there you go. That's a look at what you got coming up this week. I have not taken a peek at Saturday's slate. I know Duke UNC is coming because I live in the state, and that's a big thing.
I flirted with maybe going down for that, but I will not be. I will be in studio Saturday for CBS Sports HQ, deep into the night. A lot of good matchups there. We'll preview that obviously later on this week, but I'm going to bypass that. I'll get to see Duke play Illinois in person in February when those two teams play a non-conference game at the Garden, which is a really cool thing for the sport.
Why is that happening? That's an interesting scheduling.
Save that for another show. It's time for Now Spinning.
All right, I put this in the
I'm looking at it now.
I put this in the rundown. I try to get Norlander to talk a little music. We did an emergency Now Spinning, which you can find in the feed back in August when Oasis announced their tour.
Yeah, baby.
We just like to talk tunes, okay?
Yeah, there's ducats.
So I put the schedule or the link to the Bonnaroo 2025 lineup under the caption, "Want to see the saddest thing ever." You have not opened this link until just now.
I have just opened it, and I'm looking now.
So what do you see? Tell the audience what you see when you open up the Bonnaroo 2025 lineup. This is June of this summer.
Yeah.
Manchester, Tennessee. First of all, have you ever been to Bonnaroo?
I have not. And never really truly tempted.
Okay, well, you're also from a part of the country that it's not easy to get to, all right?
It's not easy to get to, and I'm also in a part of the country where a lot of artists that if I want to see them, I can get to them. I can get to these venues within, depending on what the venue is. It can be.
Okay, well, I have been to Bonnaroo twice, all right? Now, I went, of course I have. I don't even know what that means. I went in 2003 and 2004. These were like the second and third.
Yeah, you got in
Bonnaroos.
early. Yeah.
And
Petty.
Dude, the lineup of go look.
I'm looking
kids,
right now. 2004
kids,
Bonnaroo.
Go Google 2003 Bonnaroo lineup. Come talk to me. Come see me.
Well, I already know that.
Bangers.
Yeah, that was
bangers.
big time.
It was elite.
Here we go. Here's Bonnaroo 03. Man. Allman Brothers, The Dead, James Brown, Widespread Panic, The Roots, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, Martin Medeski and Wood.
Keep going.
Yonder Mountain String Band, My Morning Jacket.
Bangers.
I'm looking more here. The font on this is ridiculous. Trying to read some of these. I'm looking at Robert Randolph.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this
young
is
Robert Randolph.
Yeah,
like
I know. 04.
Dave
Matthews played at 04. Jack Johnson in here. I'm not seeing him.
Maybe that was 04. It's a little hazy.
Queller.
Yeah. I mean, look. My point is, this festival used to stand for something. Okay. Now look at the 2025 lineup. Go ahead, read the headliners.
I'm going. Hold on. This is 2004 here. Hold on.
2004's bangers. I think that was
Dead. Dave Matthews and Friends. There's a very good version. A couple of Dave Matthews songs from that year. I've got. You think I haven't listened to those 77 times? Bob Dylan, Trey Anastasio, David Byrne, Primus, Wilco, String Cheese Incident, Steve Winwood, Andy DeFranco, Mo, Government Mule, Ween, Los Lobos, Galactic, super underrated band, Galactic. Go find them. Yola Tango, and this is Damien Rice, North Mississippi All Stars. My Morning Jacket. That far down on the poster, MMJ, by the way. The Radiators, Granddaddy, Guster. Guster played Bonnaroo in 04.
There you go.
Kings of Leon, early Kings of Leon at that.
That's my icebreaker when I meet
Black
Guster.
Keys, Maroon 5, Humphreys McGee. I mean, Danger Mouse. It was a different time, kids.
It was an elite festival. Okay.
Elite.
It was different when it came onto the scene. It really stood for something. We used to be a country. Now I've got Bonnaroo 2025 here, okay? These are the headliners.
I can't get over that 04 lineup, man. That's just good stuff. Give it to me. What do we got in
Dom
25?
Dalla. Tyler, the Creator. Avril Lavigne.
Yeah. First of all,
Hosier.
Yeah. Is it Hosier or Hosier?
Weekend. Hosier. I don't know.
Hosier.
Queens of the Stone Age.
Queens of the Stone Age is a good one.
Tyler, the Creator. You get King Gizzard for a residence. You get them for 3 nights.
That's good.
That's
King
cool.
Gizzard and Lizard Wizard's a good get there.
Like, there's some solid bands on, like, in the smaller fonts here, but, like, when Tyler, the Creator, is headlining Bonnaroo, it's not like, I love rap music, man, don't get me wrong, but, like, that ain't it, man. This is not what it used to be. This is a different world.
Here are your headline. I'm going to, since Hartzell didn't lay this out for you.
Oh, Nelly's going to be there. Shout out to Nelly.
Your headliners for the 4 nights. Thursday, your headliners are Luke Combs and Dom Dalla.
Insane Clown Posse's also on Thursday night for all you juggaloos out there.
It's gigolos, not juggalos, isn't
Whatever.
it?
Come at me. Sorry.
Juggalo.
Sorry, ICP fans.
All right, so Thursday, your headliners are Luke Combs and Dom Dalla. Friday, Tyler, the Creator, John Summit, Glass Animals. I don't know who John Summit is. If I should know, I apologize. Don't know who that is. Do you know who John Summit is?
No, I don't.
No idea who this guy is. None. You got Goose on Friday, by the way. Saturday, Olivia Rodrigo, Avril Lavigne, and Justice. Don't know who Justice is. No idea. Sunday, Hosier, Vampire Weekend, Queens of the Stone Age. Dispatch also down there, although Dispatch hasn't been their original lineup for more than a decade now. It's a major fall from grace. That's all I'll say. It's not what it was.
Tough scene.
Things change. But the festival scene for me just isn't my deal anyway. So
now, one more thing which I did not put on the link. 4-day general admission pass for Bonnaroo. This is the cheapest ticket this is the cheapest ticket, okay? This is general admission. You got to drive, you got to park your car, you camp where your car is parked. You have space there and that's it.
I'm going to guess. I have no frame of reference on this. I don't know what a 4-day ticket would have been 10 years ago or 20 years ago versus now. I'm going to say a 4-day GA ticket. Are we also paying for parking as a function of this?
No, I mean this includes the parking. There's no like RV lot or special.
Okay. I'm going to say a
anything.
4-day ticket to see Bonnaroo in the year 2025 is going to run you $800.
Okay, that's aggressive. $435.
Oh, okay. Okay. There we go. I was thinking, 200 a day.
Now, if you want to, there's add-ons where you can buy food and parking and all that stuff.
That's not even including food.
They sell a 4-day. All right. Let's do this. 4-day platinum, a platinum ticket for Bonnaroo. Okay,
that's easily cruisable.
What does that include? Access to special viewing areas, air-conditioned lounges, upgraded restrooms, so you don't have to like use the porta potties with all the plebes. Golf cart transportation, stuff like that. What do you think?
I'm saying $1,500.
$4,000.
Oh God, get out of my face.
Now, for the low price of $26,000 per ticket, this is not a joke.
Oh my God.
You can be a Roo Insider. Okay. 26 grand. Front of stage viewing, private golf cart transportation, artist lounge. You get to be in the lounge. You get to be backstage. Can you imagine? Like you're a performer and there's these
rubbing elbows with JPEG Mafia and someone called Wave to Earth.
Just
Ziggy Alberts.
Like what are we doing? Like again, man. Like this used to stand for something. Okay. We've come a long way in 20 some odd years, and I don't know if it's a good thing. I really don't. 26 grand. Who's forking out 26 grand to be a Roo Insider? If you're listening to the show and you're planning on being a Roo Insider,
to the show
please send me a message so that you can sponsor our show and not drop 26 grand to be a Roo Insider this summer. Unbelievable stuff. So there you go. Grammys are coming up. I'm going to re-rack the game that we did last year.
Okay.
Once I get the list of all the nominees. One of the
Grammys
greatest moments.
Are the Grammys in 6 days?
They're on CBS, Norlander. You should be promoting the Grammys for me. I don't need to tell you when the Grammys are. You should be blasting it out.
Now they're Sunday, February 2nd. They're in 6 days.
Okay, so it's this weekend.
Yeah.
So on our next show, we'll play a game. We did this game last year where I read all the artist nominees.
Yes.
And I sneak in a fake nominee that I have just created.
You got to be better. Last year was okay.
You got to be better. You got roasted last year. You batted like 50% in that game. 500. You didn't do great. So anyway, I'm going to sneak in. So let's leave some room on the back end. I mean, I love talking hoops with you. Don't get me wrong. But Grammy trivia. Grammy fun, whatever. I'll come up with something between now and the end of the the end of the show. But Grammys are coming up on CBS, America's Most Watched Network. Which, by the way, like, have they done the numbers on that? I feel like it's just a lot of NCIS reruns.
Very true. Yeah, and it's only going to get stronger when the viewership of this Bills Chiefs game comes out. Even more.
I mean, I was watching. You had my attention.
That's right, buddy.
When are we back? Thursday? Friday? What's the plan? Let the people know.
Likely Thursday.
See, Norlander's always got me guessing, man. I got to reach out. I got to check in on the guy throughout the week. He really makes me work for it. Thank you for listening to the show. Norlander, let me know when we're firing this thing up again. Maybe I can book a guest. Okay,
yeah,
we can
next
talk
guest
some
is on
ball.
you, and then I'll get the guest for next Monday.
All right, way to let people know behind what we do behind the scenes, where we all.
I think it's obvious sometimes who gets what.
I don't think it's that obvious, man. I mean, who do you think booked Tommy Lloyd a couple years ago?
Yeah. People think you're pulling Tommy Lloyd.
I am tight with Fanta though. Him and I we text on the side. So there you go. The Bonnaroo lineup. That's our now spinning. We'll talk Grammys next week. Norlander, you'll be on Ion College Basketball. I know you're dropping the court report later in the week.
Yes.
CBS Digital, the whole shebang. CBS Sports HQ. All that good stuff. I need to plug
my stuff right now. People know where to find it.
I like to nail the dismount. Thank you guys for listening to the show. We will talk to you later in the week. So long.